Captain America and Black Panther have a long history on the comic page going back to Cap's days fighting in World War II. And it is this history Skydance New Media is pulling from with its first major game in partnership with Marvel. Rumors have been circulating for months as to what the Marvel game Uncharted vet Amy Hennig is overseeing, with a Daredevil game being one of the most common theories. However, these were all proven false, with the first teaser trailer teaming up two of Marvel's most iconic heroes and two of their respective allies to battle Hydra in the backdrop of World War II. The game is set to star Captain America and Black Panther as the two work to undermine the efforts of Hydra during World War II across Paris and Wakanda. Given the time period, Steve Rogers is front and center as Captain America, but Skydance confirmed it will be Azuri the Wise, T'Challa's grandfather, under the Black Panther mask instead of the modern king and protector of Wakanda. The heroes will be joined in this fight by Gabriel Jones, a member of Cap's Howling Commandos, and Nanali, a leader within Wakanda's young spy network. Azuri is T'Challa's grandfather in the comics and the Black Panther during World War II, so as far as comic accuracy goes, 2 out of 3 things are currently confirmed. It doesn't seem to be a straight retelling, however, as Nanali plays a bigger role in the comics. There's a comic storyline involving Black Panther and Wakanda, where Colonel Clow leads a mission to Wakanda during World War II. There, he comes into conflict with the king of Wakanda, Azuri, and his queen, Nanali. She doesn't seem to be the queen in this game, emphasizing it as a retelling than a straight adaptation, but it could be this game tells of a romance between Azuri and Nanali. Their relationship with T'Challa is interesting, but so is their relationship with each other and Captain America. Assuming the game is loosely based on this era, King Azuri did not trust America or Germany to begin with, as they both sought vibranium for the war effort. He put the defense of Wakanda before all else, which may be what Two Worlds references in the game. This initial impasse between Azuri and America/Captain America seems to be emphasized by the Black Panther scratch on Cap's shield in the trailer. However, the two would become allies and friends, with Black Panther believing Cap would go on to symbolize America just as he did Wakanda, which did, of course, happen. Many may, at first glance, think of Nanali and Gabriel Jones as odd picks. But, for a narrative adventure game, there is a ton of potential with Skydance reaching so deeply into the comic vaults. Little else was revealed about the game, though, as Skydance New Media appears to be playing its cards close to the chest for its first AAA game in partnership with Marvel. This included the game's title or the systems it will be on, neither of which were confirmed during the showcase. The most information players may be able to glean from the trailer is the possibility of Captain America and Black Panther coming to blows at some point as the two heroes navigate Nazi-occupied Paris, as part of their respective efforts to undermine Hydra. While the potential conflict may catch some players off guard initially, it would make sense given the time period. A consistent part of Wakanda's presentation between the comics, video games, and Marvel Cinematic Universe is the country's secretive history given its wealth of vibranium and technologically advanced society. The first part of the tagline, for heroes, clearly refers to the 4 characters showcased at the end of the trailer. The second part of the tagline, Two Worlds, might be the most interesting aspect of the entire trailer, with several possible connotations. While a multiverse story could be the most literal possibility, it could also be that Two Worlds refers to Wakanda and the US, with half of the heroes hailing from the futuristic African country, and the other 2 coming from the States. On a more thematic note, the Two Worlds could possibly refer to the differing political opinions of both nations during this era, with Wakanda being a more progressive nation in general, while the US harbors some less than progressive ideals. It might be unlikely for a Marvel game to stray too much into themes of race and discrimination, but with the game set in World War II, and 3 of its 4 main characters being black, it seems like a fairly unavoidable theme. The final part of the tagline, One War, has another pretty straightforward answer. Based on the few images teased in the trailer, it seems as though Hydra will play a major role in the game, so the One War will almost definitely be the 2 forces, the US and the Wakandans, coming together to defeat Hydra in the midst of World War II, likely headed up by the Red Skull and his usual team of poached Nazi scientists and generals. It will be difficult for Skydance's Marvel game to avoid comparison to other superhero ensemble games as an inevitable byproduct of this growing trend. Insomniac seems to lead the standalone superhero genre with the Marvel Spider-Man franchise and the upcoming Marvel's Wolverine, but comparisons can be made there too. If it's single-player, the Black Panther and Captain America epic set during WW2 could rival Insomniac with its own narrative-driven blockbuster, but with 4 playable characters. Playing as each character throughout the events of the game could provide a succinct single-player experience. However, it is unclear if Skydance wants to juggle so many playable protagonists. Players may have the option to play in single-player with pseudo-control over other characters, such as in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Otherwise, any number of co-op options may be the play, but I don't prefer co-op. I will always lean more towards single-player. How Skydance handles this ensemble cast of characters will be interesting to see, and we need to see gameplay first or an in-game trailer. Amy Hennig has a great narrative track record, but last few outings of hers were cancelled projects. And this game looks like it's gonna be releasing in late 2025 or something. I hope this doesn't end up like one of those cancelled projects. This was the only thing worthy to talk about from that terrible D23 Disney and Marvel Games Showcase 2022. Others were fluff and mobile games, and there is neither Spider-Man 2 nor Wolverine from PlayStation, so it's a letdown. CD Projekt Red recently hosted a special Cyberpunk 2077 event, where it has finally revealed the game's long-awaited DLC expansion, Phantom Liberty. Cyberpunk 2077 fans have known that the game would be getting a proper expansion for quite some time, but the latest Night City Wire broadcast has properly revealed it, confirming some interesting details about what fans can expect when it launches next year. As revealed by CD Projekt Red, the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion will launch in 2023 for PlayStation 5, PC, Stadia, and Xbox Series X. PS4 and Xbox One are being left behind, with Cyberpunk 2077 1.6 update being the last time the older versions of the game will be supported. The Phantom Liberty expansion is being described as a spy thriller, and will have Cyberpunk 2077 players exploring a new area of Night City. The Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty trailer is an impressive visual showcase, revealing some of the places that players will be visiting in the expansion. It also confirms that Keanu Reeves will be reprising his role as Johnny Silverhand. Silverhand's voice can be heard in the trailer, and Reeves himself appeared during the Night City Wire event to confirm his return in the DLC. The Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC represents a unique opportunity for CD Projekt Red to make a second first impression with the game. There once was a time when Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the most hotly anticipated new game releases. But a problematic launch saw much of the goodwill fans had for the game and CD Projekt Red in general squandered. Many of Cyberpunk 2077's issues stemmed from the PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game, so with the DLC focusing exclusively on new platforms, it should be able to avoid running into those same pitfalls. Since Cyberpunk 2077's disastrous launch, CD Projekt Red has updated the game multiple times to improve its performance, fix glitches, and more. There's no denying that Cyberpunk 2077 is in a significantly better state today than it was at launch, and so those who haven't played it since then may want to consider giving it another try. Fans will find out if Cyberpunk 2077's big DLC expansion lives up to the hype when it launches next year. In the more immediate future, fans can boot up the game later today and download the new update, which adds DLC based on the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime series. While CDPR hasn't revealed a ton of information about the Phantom Liberty expansion, the short teaser trailer features V reciting an oath of allegiance to the new United States of America. However, things take an interesting turn when a returning Johnny Silverhand, again brought to life by Keanu Reeves, expresses his concern over the whole thing. While the return of Silverhand will no doubt please many fans, his addition does tend to potentially complicate things with regard to the game's main storyline and various endings. During the events of Act 1, players work with Jackie Wells to obtain a highly sought-after item known as the Relic. Naturally, things don't go according to plan for the duo, and they have to improvise an escape from the highly secured Arasaka Tower. During the escape, the Relic is damaged and V takes it upon themselves to insert the chip into their head in order to prevent the item from being destroyed. Unfortunately for them, this Relic is actually a biochip housing the digitized human psyche of Johnny Silverhand. Worse yet, the biochip is now slowly overriding V's brain, where they'll eventually die with Johnny taking full control. At this point, the theme of Cyberpunk 2077 shifts from V's attempt to become a Night City legend to a race to find a way to simply survive their rapidly approaching fate. As with most big RPG-style games, Cyberpunk 2077 has multiple endings for players to discover, even though none really offer V a true happy ending. In this case, they either become an Arasaka lab rat, choose to live with the limited time they have left, or die to let Silverhand take over fully. With the expansion's announcement, the question of its timeline has now become a major talking point for fans. Depending on the ending received, V does have a few months left to live before their body eventually falls apart. So it's possible that CDPR could somehow position this new content to take place within those 6 months. What doesn't add up in this newest Cyberpunk 2077 trailer is that Johnny Silverhand appears to still be active within V. This would likely indicate that the Phantom Liberty expansion isn't post-story content and instead happens sometime before the final mission where V uses Mikashi at Arasaka Tower to fully separate from Silverhand. Prior to that point, V's condition is worsening very quickly as they get more and more desperate to find a cure. So it would be jarring from a narrative perspective for V to suddenly change course and join up with a new faction when their primary concern to this point has been to survive. On one hand, it's possible that this new faction has promised a solution to V's condition by leveraging them to officially join and follow orders. There's likely a reason why V has chosen this route, maybe to gain access to some high-powered tech or perhaps to use this as a way to get to something else that could prove beneficial. Whatever the case may be, it's likely that CDPR has found a way to work this story into the game's main narrative, especially if it does take place before the final mission. It seems that despite rumors of multiple Cyberpunk 2077 expansions on the way, CD Projekt Red only has plans for Phantom Liberty at the moment. However, it seems that CD Projekt Red isn't planning any other expansions following Phantom Liberty, though. As spotted in the YouTube comments of the DLC teaser, the Cyberpunk 2077 channel responded to a fan stating they hope to see more expansions in the future by commenting, "As for the future, Phantom Liberty is the only planned expansion for Cyberpunk 2077. This suggests that CD Projekt Red may be planning Phantom Liberty as the first and last expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, meaning that there won't be any more big content updates in the future. CD Projekt Red has announced that players of Cyberpunk 2077 will be able to download new content based around Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is the Netflix anime adaptation of Cyberpunk 2077, and while both the series and the game take place within Night City, there might be some confusion around how the two will work together. This is because Cyberpunk Edgerunners focuses on a set of different characters than Cyberpunk 2077, and it has its own protagonist. The protagonist for Cyberpunk Edgerunners will be the new playable character in the DLC coming to Cyberpunk 2077. This will mean that players will ditch their customized V for David Martinez, the protagonist of the anime. The DLC is set to be a story-focused expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, focusing on Martinez in a narrative adventure taking place alongside the events of the game. This comes as part of patch 1.6 for Cyberpunk 2077, which was revealed by CD Projekt Red. As well as adding content related to Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the new update will also bring some more features to Cyberpunk 2077. A new minigame will be available called Roach Race, which looks like a retro version of The Witcher, complete with a nod to the meme of Geralt's horse Roach getting stuck on top of a house. As well as the minigame, players will also be able to access new photo mode features, and after a long period of waiting, Cyberpunk 2077 fans finally can transmog their gear, meaning they can travel around Night City in style without compromising their armor stats. There will also be a new jacket added to Cyberpunk 2077, known as the Martinez jacket, showing another tie-in with the anime series. Considering that the first episode of Cyberpunk Edgerunners is set to release on September 13th, it makes sense that CD Projekt Red would promote the adaptation while also showing off plenty of new content coming to Cyberpunk 2077. It was announced that there could be a few surprises in the latest Cyberpunk 2077 event. And it seems CD Projekt Red has lived up to that promise with the launch of version 1.6 and the Phantom Liberty DLC. Speaking of Cyberpunk 2077, a free DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 introduces Raid Mod, a set of tools that provides players with an official means for loading mods. While official modding tools have existed in the form of CD Projekt Red's comprehensive Woven kit that allows modders to edit game content and create mods for The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. The installation and loading process was largely done through third-party mod managers like Nexus Mod's Vortex tool or through manual installation in the game's archive folder. The new Arid mod tool added in this DLC provides integrated support for installing mods and also allows for rearranging the load order of mods. An important troubleshooting feature that can alleviate mod conflicts and prevent game crashes. Players can easily deploy mods by using the Arid launcher included with the game. Arid mod also comes with a Blender plugin that allows modders to work with the game's 3D assets to create things like new animations, and it includes a few example mods to show off this capability. Custom sounds, animations, and scripts are all possible with the tools, giving modders plenty of freedom to create new content. CD Projekt Red also intends to update Arid mod side by side with the usual game patches to maintain compatibility. While there are already tons of excellent mods for Cyberpunk 2077, these tools should hopefully expand modders' capabilities. Since the next Cyberpunk 2077 expansion will likely be the game's last, it's extremely important that a strong foundation for modding is in place in order for the game to thrive in the following years. Modding communities have extended the lives of their favorite games by decades, for example, 2002's The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which still receives new modded content over 20 years later. So, this must be a nice addition for the longevity and growth of the game. Hangar 13, a California-based subsidiary of 2K Games, is developing a new Mafia game. A senior studio executive confirmed the news earlier while also reflecting on the 20th anniversary of the Mafia franchise. The latest entry in the series was Mafia 3, which will be turning 6 this October and also happens to be the very first game developed by Hangar 13. The studio then turned to Mafia Definitive Edition, a remake of the 2002 original which was released on PS4, PC and Xbox One back in 2020. While it's common to use remakes to gauge public interest in long-running franchises before committing to sequels, that might not have been the case here. Seeing how Mafia 3 was a record-breaking commercial success for 2K in spite of its mixed critical reception. In an interview commemorating the 20th anniversary of the franchise, Hangar 13 general manager Roman Hladik confirmed that the next Mafia game is already in development. The executive described the project as an all-new endeavor based on new stories, but didn't go so far as to give it an official title. The only other detail he shared about Mafia 4, or whatever the next game ends up being called, was that the title is still a few years away from release. Regardless, the implication is that Hangar 13 started development around the time Mafia Definitive Edition went gold in mid-2020. Hladik also reflected on his 25 years with the company that originally started as a 4-person indie studio from the Czech Republic called Illusion Softworks. He was a character artist for the original Mafia before being promoted to an art director for Mafia 2. He's been in his current executive role since Mafia 3 began development circa 2011. The low-key nature of today's announcement is reminiscent of the way Take-Two Interactive handled the long-awaited Grand Theft Auto 6 confirmation earlier this year. Both titles were simply confirmed to be in development with pretty much nothing in the way of additional details. That said, GTA 6 seems to be closer to release than the fourth Mafia game. It was only a few months ago that Hangar 13 went through major layoffs, downsizing its 87-strong California division by around 60%. The company does have 3 additional studios around the world, though not all of them were necessarily focused on the Mafia franchise, with at least one outlet previously working on another, now cancelled project. However, the current state of its headquarters would suggest that the next Mafia game has only recently left the pre-production stage, so the few years away timeline given by Hladik is either optimistic, intentionally vague, or both. The Mafia franchise focuses mainly on life within the mob, throughout various touchpoints in history. From the original game and its remake, which were set in 1930, through to the most recent chronological entry, Mafia 3, which is set in 1968. There are almost no details about the series' next entry that are known at this point, but if the new game in the Mafia franchise is indeed Mafia 4, it should take the series back to its roots of telling compelling stories with compelling characters. There's something about the day-to-day life of the Mafia that has always fascinated people. Realistic, and some unrealistic, depictions of these gangsters have been brought to life over the years in media such as movies and TV. The Godfather, widely regarded as one of the greatest movies of all time, arguably kicked off this fascination when it was released in 1972 to widespread acclaim, and the trend has continued ever since. Despite life in the Mafia seeming like a great setup for a video game, it is a genre that hasn't really been explored in depth. Favorites such as Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row have opted to include versions of the Mafia in their games that the player will often work with, or against, rather than base their game specifically on a member of the Italian mob. The Mafia franchise is an exception to this though, with the first two games firmly focused on the Cosa Nostra. The original Mafia game, and its 2020 remake, centered on Tommy Angelo, a cab driver from 1930s Illinois who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, which saw him become embroiled with the fictional Salieri crime family. Over the course of the game, players witnessed Tommy transition from a down-on-his-luck cab driver to a high-ranking member of the Salieri family with more money and respect than he could ever have imagined. Mafia tells an incredible story full of plot twists and gut-wrenching scenes that wouldn't be out of place in a Martin Scorsese picture. The gameplay is not the strongest element on display, with the shooting a little clunky and the minute-to-minute gameplay slightly mundane, but such is the strength of Mafia's narrative, that it makes these issues seem much less bothersome than they would usually be. Mafia 2 builds on much of what the first game did well. The setting of the 1940s and 50s was brought to life brilliantly, with cars, costumes, and characters all true to the source material. This time the protagonist was Vito Scaletta, a war veteran whose friendship with the wily Joe Barbaro sees him eventually becoming a member of the Clementi crime family. Again, Mafia 2 crafts believable characters from everything such as dialogue and accents, down to the decisions they make and their motivations. Its gameplay is once again imperfect, but the story is one that players become extremely invested in, so gameplay shortcomings can be overlooked. The release of Mafia 3 in 2017 saw the franchise move away from the tight, linear narratives it had become known for, in favor of an open world that allowed players to explore it in almost any order they liked. After a strong start which saw the protagonist Lincoln Clay and his friends betrayed by the Mafia, players are then given the choice to tackle the world however they like. Despite the game still containing some strong characters and an intriguing late 1960s aesthetic, the story suffered because of this. And the nature of the game meant that many players became bored with its repetitive structure long before the final credits rolled. Mafia 3 was by no means a bad game. In fact, its gameplay was far stronger than that of its predecessors. However, it suffered from poor, cookie-cutter missions, and a huge open world that was filled with copies of the same enemies and same buildings scattered all over its map. Mafia has proved it is a series that knows how to craft relatable, believable characters, with well-written video game protagonists. Both Mafia and its sequel waste no time quickly engaging the player in the narrative. Mafia 3's different approach means that the plot is unable to build up any momentum, and characters are sometimes not seen for long periods of time depending on what the player chooses to do next. The next Mafia title has all the ingredients needed to be the best one yet. Following the franchise's timeline, it could well take place in the 1970s or 80s, which throws up a host of intriguing settings such as Las Vegas or Miami. If it can take the gameplay elements of Mafia 3, and combine those with a strong story featuring engaging and compelling characters, the likes of which are dotted all throughout the first two Mafia games, then Mafia 4 has the tools to be the best video game depiction of life in the Mafia that the industry has seen to date. Sony Interactive Entertainment Executive Vice President, Masayasu Ito, who led the PlayStation 5 engineering team, is retiring early next year. In the meantime, the veteran executive will step down from his current position and occupy a transitional role at Sony Group starting October 1st. While the industry giant continues battling PS5 supply issues, Ito spent his entire career at Sony, having originally joined the company in 1986 after acquiring a master's degree in mechanical engineering from Tokyo's Waseda University. He first worked on Sony's car audio systems before making a switch to the firm's console division in 2000, where he contributed to the development of various PlayStation accessories. The hardware architect then served as a mechanical engineering lead for the PlayStation Portable console and also led the PS3 hardware team. before eventually overseeing all development efforts on the PS4, PS4 Pro, PSVR, and PS5. Ito will still serve as an executive advisor to Sony's Platform Experience Group until the end of the conglomerate's current fiscal year, which runs through March 31, 2023. During this interim period, he will also take on a mobility role at Sony Group. The temporary assignment, which is a standard industry practice when it comes to C-suite changes, will likely see Ito facilitate a leadership transition at SIE. His immediate replacement will be another senior executive, Finance SVP Lin Tao, who was elevated to a director role at the same time SIE appointed Ito as a representative director in March 2021. This change in management isn't meant to signal a wider restructuring effort at Sony, a company spokesperson told Bloomberg. The situation comes down to the fact that the 60-year-old executive decided to depart after reaching retirement age. Sony is acquiring mobile game developer Savage Game Studios, the company announced on Monday. The financial terms of the deal were not disclosed. Savage Game is joining a newly created PlayStation Studios mobile division, which will focus on creating games based on new and existing PlayStation IP. Sony says the new studio, which will operate independently from console game development, aims to reach new audiences and give gamers more ways to engage with its content. Savage Game Studios is already working on a new unannounced AAA mobile live service action game. Sony says it's too early to reveal more about this upcoming game. In Sony's quotes, this acquisition reaffirms Sony Interactive Entertainment's commitment to delivering innovative experiences to new players around the world by expanding to additional platforms, said Herman Hulst, the head of PlayStation Studios, in a statement. PlayStation Studios must continue to expand and diversify our offering beyond console, bringing incredible new games to more people than ever before. Acquiring the talented team at Savage Game Studios is another strategic step towards that goal. Savage Game Studios was founded in 2020 by developers Mikhail Katkov, Nadja Majur and Michael McManus. The trio has years of experience working at numerous developers, including Insomniac Games, Zynga and Rovio. The studio doesn't appear to have produced any games yet. Following the close of the acquisition, Savage Game Studios' day-to-day operations will continue to be run by the company's current management. A quote by the studio, Savage Game Studios was founded by industry veterans yearning to challenge the status quo and bring meaningful innovation to mobile gaming, said Mikhail Katkov. The announcement reflects our firm belief that SIE shares our passion for experimentation and taking risks. We have great admiration for the consistency and quality of PlayStation's first-party catalog, knowing just how hard it is in this industry to deliver time and time again as they have. We're honored to become part of that legacy, and to join PlayStation Studios' world-class collective of immensely talented designers, artists, and engineers. We're early in development on our unannounced project but can't wait to show you more of what we're working on. Sony says its efforts beyond console don't diminish its commitment to the PlayStation community or its passion to keep making single-player, narrative-driven experiences. The company says its mobile gaming efforts will provide ways for more people to engage with its games. This announcement comes a few weeks after Sony confirmed that its $3.6 billion deal to acquire Bungie, the gaming company that created Halo and Destiny, had gone through without any surprises. At Sony, Bungie will remain a standalone game studio, but its expertise will be woven into the company's strategy for PlayStation Studios, the division of Sony Interactive Entertainment dedicated to making tentpole games that showcase the company's technological prowess. Ubisoft Forward heavily focuses on Assassin's Creed Mirage, revealing new and story gameplay details regarding the 2023 title. Prior to the event, AC Mirage, then under the codename Rift, was reportedly a Valhalla expansion that Ubi decided to turn into a full standalone game. AC Mirage's creative director Stefan Bouden tells that this idea only lasted a few weeks and was only ever on paper, with the current iteration of the game being a far cry from a DLC now. Indeed, this does seem to be the case. Assassin's Creed Mirage's development is led by Ubisoft Bordeaux, with the support of several other studios under the Ubisoft banner, and is set in 861 AD Baghdad. It is a narrative action-adventure, with a structure similar to the first game. This means that the core gameplay focus on stealth, parkour, and assassinations, as evident in the classic Assassin's Creed game, is at the fore here. Players take on the role of Assassin's Creed Valhalla's Basim as he grows from a street thief into a master assassin. He is brought into the Hidden Ones and trained by his mentor and a former Persian slave, Roshan, played by Shora Agdashlu. Basim is plagued with nightmares and visions, and it seems he hopes to find answers to them within the organization. Budin describes their relationship as a classic mentor-student relationship, but it does seem Basim likes to play it a little fast and loose sometimes, while Roshan is more stringent. Gameplay-wise, stealth is improved over the past RPG titles. The core gameplay loop here involves identifying guards and/or targets, eliminating those necessary, and vanishing. Ubisoft Bordeaux reworked the detection system to enhance this loop, with there being various archetypes for guards, with there being clear communication as to what guards are alerted, and so on. Players will go through various, recognizable phases like a warning phase, a search state, and then open conflict. There is also a wanted system that could see crowds turn against the player, meaning players will need to be cognizant about their activities. Players, like in the past few entries, also have an eagle companion. Basim's is named Enkidu, but one major difference is that it's not as infallible as past games. Archers, for example, can shoot down an eagle if players do not eliminate them first. Of course, to accomplish this, parkour is key in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Ubisoft Bordeaux focused on giving Basim a certain quickness, allowing him to get through the heavy crowds of Baghdad, which Budin compares to the crowds of AC Unity, and take off across the flat roofs of Baghdad. All the animations are new to emphasize Basim's skills, while new elements of parkour like pole vaulting are introduced. Players are able to set off traps and knock over scaffolding to create even more distance, and there are also tools like smoke bombs and other gadgets to take advantage of. Combat-wise, Budin said the fighting mechanics were more akin to Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, but there are new distinctive elements too. Assassin's Focus is one of those, and it's perhaps most comparable to Red Dead's Dead-Eye. When used, Basim is so proficient that he eliminates many targets quickly, which manifests in-game by slowing down time and allowing players to pick their targets. Overall, it seems clear that Assassin's Creed Mirage is very much a return to form, yet it seems to be carving out its own identity all the same. Furthermore, a lot of Assassin's Creed Mirage's fighting mechanics are derived from Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Though to what extent and how this still fits into the action-adventure genre remains to be seen. The most interesting point of their influence comes from the lore, however. Assassin's Creed Mirage is set between Origins and Valhalla, but still incredibly close to the time period of AC1. Mirage takes place during the height of the Hidden Ones, on the precipice of them becoming the Brotherhood, though not quite yet. And this means Mirage has to acknowledge both this past and this future. The Ubisoft Bordeaux team leading Assassin's Creed Mirage played a lot of the classic games to prepare for this title, but fans shouldn't expect a simple throwback to a 2007 game. No, in every way, Bordeaux sought to take what made the classic action-adventure games great and modernize them in a way for a proper 2023 title. As part of Ubisoft Forward, the company confirms the various special editions associated with Assassin's Creed Mirage and pre-order content. If someone pre-orders AC Mirage, they'll receive an exclusive quest based on the 40 Thieves folktale. If someone gets the digital deluxe edition, they'll receive a series of cosmetic items based on Prince of Persia. But if someone picks up the collector's case, the edition of Assassin's Creed Mirage, they are treating themselves to plenty of digital and physical content. The collector's edition of Assassin's Creed Mirage comes with the digital deluxe version of the whole game, including the Prince of Persia cosmetics, a digital art book, and a digital soundtrack. But it's the physical content of Assassin's Creed Mirage that may draw the most eyes. Assassin's Creed Mirage's collector's edition also comes a 32cm figurine of young Basim in a parkour-like assassination stance. Given that Assassin's Creed Mirage takes a back-to-basics approach, with the game focusing on stealth, parkour, and assassinations, this statue captures that very essence. Furthermore, the collector's case also comes with a replica of Basim's brooch, which will seemingly play a major role in the game, and a physical map of Assassin's Creed Mirage's Baghdad setting. There is also a physical art book and soundtrack coming with the game. Furthermore, there will be an exclusive steelbook for Assassin's Creed Mirage, but its design has yet to be revealed. That's because Ubisoft is letting the design be chosen by fans, so interesting fans should keep an eye out for it in the future. It should be noted that the base game of Assassin's Creed Mirage, alone, is cheaper than most AAA games. It comes in at $50. The digital edition of the game is just $10 more, and the collector's edition is $150. In other words, it's the price of the game plus $100 for the various physical and digital content, which should attract many fans. The weird thing about this pre-order information was, they only showed CGI for the game. No in-game trailers, no gameplay, but already opened up pre-orders without even having a release date. Although core elements like the Animus will still appear, Assassin's Creed Mirage does not feature any present-day gameplay. Ubisoft Bordeaux wanted to explore the story and background of Basim prior to the events of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. However, present-day elements have been present in every mainline Assassin's Creed title, and it's a core part of the franchise. The Animus then still plays a role, particularly in the beginning and the end, but there is no present-day gameplay whatsoever. This doesn't mean that Assassin's Creed Mirage won't push Basim's story forward, as his nightmares and visions could still inform many of Loki's decisions in AC Valhalla. And there is the question of who is witnessing Basim's memories in the Animus. The removal of present-day elements allows Ubisoft to more sharply focus on this element of Basim's story than others, though. First off, the present-day storyline will still unfold in other titles, where Basim's story is likely to keep moving forward in the present. Secondly, the present-day elements in Assassin's Creed have always been contentious, with some fans thinking the franchise no longer needs it. Whatever side of the fence someone is on with that issue, one game without it certainly isn't a big change when the main gameplay pillars of parkour, stealth, and assassinations return. One of the most important pieces of information that came from the official artwork for Assassin's Creed Mirage's reveal was the close-up glimpse of the title's protagonist that it provides. The lack of complexity to the showcased outfit is one of the most overt factors within the artwork, lacking the flair and complexity of outfits worn by the likes of fan-favorite assassin Ezio Auditore. Most notably, the outfit appears to lack the iconic Assassin Brotherhood or Hidden One sigil that most other outfits possess, further exemplifying the early stages of the organization within the time period in which the game is set. As well as being fairly basic compared to later outfits, Mirage's outfit appears to be very reflective of the geographical setting of the game, stylistically speaking. The protagonist, which appears to be Basim due to the striking resemblance between the two characters, is seen in the artwork sporting a covered forehead and scarf, in keeping with Middle Eastern clothing of the time. It is also of note that the character is depicted wearing a full assassin hood, which is a welcome return to franchise tradition given how Eivor, Bayek, and Cassandra were often seen without a hood. The Mirage outfit is also almost completely lacking in armor, being far removed from the bracers and pauldron often worn by Ezio. Of course, each outfit worn by different assassins often reflects the traditions and cultures of their geographical settings. And it appears that the outfit within Assassin's Creed Mirage will be no different. Basim ibn Ishaq was an integral character in the story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, being a high-ranking member of the Hidden Ones organization that would develop over time to become the Assassin Brotherhood. Along with his student Hytham, Basim traveled to medieval England with Sigurd and subsequently met Eivor, introducing them to the Hidden Blade and the more stealth-oriented tenets of the Hidden Ones. However, it is revealed that Basim's mind had long been absorbed and controlled by the Isu god Loki who, along with other gods such as Odin, beamed his consciousness into the human gene pool in order to survive the great catastrophe that wiped out the advanced Isu race. Remembering his ill treatment at the hands of Odin, Loki dedicated his reborn physical form to hunting down Odin and enacting revenge. Realizing that Odin has physically manifested inside Eivor in a more subtle manner, Basim acted as an unconscious vessel for Loki, who drove Basim to betray Eivor before being trapped in a form of stasis until the year 2020. Despite forming a tentative alliance with the modern-day assassins, the trademark unpredictability of Loki will likely see him become a villain in subsequent titles, with the live service title Assassin's Creed Infinity being a perfect candidate. As previously mentioned, it is believed that Assassin's Creed Mirage will feature Basim as its protagonist given the official art for Mirage. Mirage may take place before the events of Valhalla, exploring Basim as his true self, largely unhindered by the presence of Loki. Loki probably took a lot from Basim's pre-existing personality while maintaining his cover through everyday interactions. And it can be said that Basim in Valhalla was decidedly wise and magnanimous prior to the Loki reveal. This means players will most likely play as a Basim who embodies these positive characteristics in Mirage. And will have to watch as his selfless traits become overshadowed and dominated by Loki's influence. With it being likely that Basim and Loki will have different gameplay segments in Mirage, this shift in character could be clearly portrayed. In this way, Mirage could establish Basim as the model assassin, embodying the traits of an honorable and compassionate individual. Before the invasion of his psyche turns him into a more jaded and scheming figure. As previously mentioned, the positive portrayal of Basim in Mirage could have heartbreaking effects further down the line. With the rumored Assassin's Creed Infinity possibly having a multitude of geographical and temporal settings for players to explore. The timeline of Basim is still largely unfinished due to his presence among modern-day assassins. And a more informed impression of his prior purity will only make it all the more difficult to address Basim as an antagonist in future games. Players are also introduced to Roshan, a former Persian slave, who finds herself as a mentor of the Hidden Ones. In the game, they are based in Alamut, and this era is just before the Hidden Ones transition into the Assassins. Roshan demands attention during the Assassin's Creed Mirage trailer, and she'll have a big role to play in the game to boot. AC Mirage creative director Stefan Budin talks about Roshan's relationship with Basim. What's clear from Roshan's presence in the trailer is how stringent she is about the Hidden Ones and the Creed. Roshan likely has more dimensions to her character, but she comes as a very stringent person who doesn't joke around much. While one could arguably see this in Basim come Assassin's Creed Valhalla 2, it doesn't seem he was much like that in his youth. Players begin as a street thief, go on their journey as an assassin, and climb the ranks to master, but it seems that the two will not always see eye to eye. What's clear from the focus and pedigree put into Roshan is that Basim may be Assassin's Creed Mirage's leading man, but Roshan may be its independent leading woman. The two will work closely, and it'll be interesting to see how their mentor-student relationship develops over the course of the game, especially as Basim is haunted by Loki. The official Ubisoft website for Assassin's Creed Mirage has an image of characters in the upcoming game, with two of them yet to be revealed. As seen here, Ubisoft highlights Basim and Roshan as two characters of Assassin's Creed Mirage, hiding the other two with the Creed logo. While there will no doubt be historical characters, side characters, and the like in Assassin's Creed Mirage, the two missing characters here would likely play main roles in a similar vein to Basim and Roshan. After all, there would be little reason to hide characters who are not as important to the story. It'll be interesting to see exactly who these characters are, but it's hard to venture a guess right now. It's possible since Basim essentially goes through three phases of his life: street thief, assassin, and master assassin, that one of these characters is Hytham. Basim's apprentice come Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Lore would suggest that Hytham was active, to some degree, around 867 AD, and it's possible he and Hytham meet at some point during Assassin's Creed Mirage. Of course, it could easily be someone else, as Hytham wouldn't likely appear until near the end of the game if at all. These two characters are as likely as important as Basim and Roshan in Assassin's Creed Mirage, so it stands to reason Ubisoft would confirm who they are ahead of the actual release. However, that could still be some time away. Ubisoft will likely focus most of its marketing on Assassin's Creed Valhalla's last chapter DLC this year, with Mirage following sometime thereafter since it's set for 2023. Still, it's exciting to ponder who these characters could be. Publisher Ubisoft has officially denied that the upcoming Assassin's Creed Mirage will feature loot boxes and real gambling after recent listings indicated that was the case. However, a Ubisoft representative assures fans that this was an error and that Assassin's Creed Mirage contains no content fitting that description. Fans became concerned when Mirage arrived on the Xbox Digital Store, indicating that Mirage received an 18+ adults-only rating from the ESRB, citing intense violence, blood and gore, sexual themes, partial nudity, real gambling. Xbox's UK store also listed real gambling and extreme violence alongside its PEGI 18 rating. This term implies that Assassin's Creed Mirage players would be spending their real money on in-game games of chance. The ESRB considers this distinct from the more common, simulated gambling, and confers an automatic 18+ rating regardless of other factors. It's hard to imagine Assassin's Creed Mirage containing gambling in the traditional sense. However, these ratings on the Xbox Store raise the specter of loot boxes, a controversial chance-based mechanic that some jurisdictions define as gambling. However, a Ubisoft spokesperson cleared this up earlier today, saying that the store pages were mistaken. Talking to Eurogamer, they clarified that Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Mirage is still pending review by the ESRB. They also explicitly denied that Mirage contains any gambling or loot boxes. While the Xbox Store still displayed an adults-only rating as of that statement, Xbox has since rectified the mistake. Microsoft's store page now labels Assassin's Creed Mirage as likely mature, with a generic warning that it may not be appropriate for children. Meanwhile, Xbox's UK storefront still displays a PEGI 18 rating but no longer lists gambling as one of the reasons. It's still unclear precisely how this mistake occurred, but some fans will no doubt be breathing a sigh of relief. Ubisoft reveals that future games in the Assassin's Creed franchise may not be extremely lengthy RPGs as the publisher decides to vary its approach. Recent Assassin's Creed games have received some criticism for their length. This is partly due to the sheer size of the game world, as Assassin's Creed games went from being set in a dense city to letting players loose in a massive open world filled with side quests and activities. This approach was first adopted by Assassin's Creed Origins, with Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla further expanding and building upon it. It seemed like the game world kept increasing in size with each subsequent release, and Ubisoft added even more content through post-launch expansions and DLC. However, it looks like the Assassin's Creed series will move away from this design philosophy to give players a more varied experience. An interview with IGN revealed that future games in the Assassin's Creed series may be shorter. In the interview, Vice President Executive Producer of Assassin's Creed, Mark Alexis Cote, first discussed Assassin's Creed Mirage. Cote mentioned that Assassin's Creed Mirage is a smaller project in the series and thus it retails for $50. It's being developed to celebrate the 15-year anniversary of the series and will have a bigger focus on stealth as well as parkour. Cote then confirmed that Assassin's Creed Mirage will be shorter than the recent games in the franchise and players will be able to finish it within 15 to 20 hours. Cote then mentioned that not every game will be a 150-hour-long RPG, so fans can expect some smaller games in the Assassin's Creed series from now on. By switching to an open-world RPG formula with loot-based progression in 2017, Ubisoft created a rift among fans. Players who found comfort in Ezio's trilogy were concerned with the stark difference that Cassandra's journey brought. But fans of the latter games may not be inclined to follow the series back to its roots when the now confirmed Assassin's Creed Mirage releases. Ubisoft finally pulled back the curtain on Assassin's Creed Red, Red being a codename, an upcoming open-world RPG set in Japan. The company revealed a ton of games during the AC showcase, under the wider Ubisoft Forward umbrella, including Assassin's Creed Mirage, AC codename Jade, Assassin's Creed Hex, and more. However, Assassin's Creed Red may earn itself the most fanfare simply because it is such a longer requested setting than any other. Fans have been beginning Ubisoft for a game set in Japan for a long time, and in fact, Ubisoft even teased Japan as a setting as far back as Assassin's Creed 3. Ubisoft did not put a release window on Assassin's Creed Red. The AC showcase gave fans a quick glimpse at the setting of feudal Japan, with Ubisoft also confirming that this would be an open-world RPG. In other words, it's more likely to be in line with AC Valhalla than AC Mirage or the classic games. Its development is being led by Jonathan Dumont of Ubisoft Quebec. He served as the world director of Assassin's Creed Syndicate and as creative director on Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Immortals Phoenix Rising. Given that Ubisoft Quebec and Ubisoft Montreal typically lead the development of Assassin's Creed titles, it seems safe to say that it is in good hands. However, fans are unlikely to learn more for some time. It'll be interesting to see how the Japan setting may compare to Ghost of Tsushima, as it was referred to as the best Assassin's Creed game. If Assassin's Creed Mirage shows the company's willingness to embrace the past and Assassin's Creed Red shows the open-world RPG approach is here to stay, Assassin's Creed Hex proves that the franchise is not just a one-trick pony. By far, it was the most mysterious tease at the AC showcase, and Ubisoft also teased that the Assassin's Creed Hex trailer was filled with secrets. However, it doesn't seem that it took long for fans to break down these teasers for Assassin's Creed Hex. Outside of the main teaser trailer, there have also been several developments on social media and by the company that shows just how different this title could be. For example, Ubisoft has confirmed that AC Hex is not an RPG, but neither does it seem like a straight-up action-adventure game. It definitely gives off horror game vibes, and while this may not be a horror game proper, it does seem to be exploring a dark time for the Brotherhood. Fans have deduced that Assassin's Creed Hex is seemingly set during the 16th century witch hunts of Germany, set during the reign of the Holy Roman Empire. Not only does this trailer fit this aesthetic perfectly, but the very codename, Hex, is German for witch. Fans also discovered that the letters around the logo are not of Assassin's Creed's ISU language, but of the alphabet of the Magi, further cementing it in this time period. The witch trials of this period were some of the biggest in history, with thousands of people executed in the late 16th century and early 17th century. This is just speculation, but given the Templars' need for control, it stands to reason that it will manipulate the crowd's fear and use this to hunt down assassins in Germany. As such, this could highlight one of the darkest time periods for the Brotherhood and create a unique gameplay experience if everyone thinks the assassins are witches. In and of itself, that may be promising enough, but other reveals have come alongside news like AC Hex not being an RPG. First off, Darby McDevitt is working on Assassin's Creed Hex as a writer. His influence on the franchise cannot be understated, as not only was he the narrative director on AC Valhalla, but the lead writer on it, Black Flag, Revelations, Discovery, and Bloodlines. Furthermore, there have been teases by Ubisoft that Assassin's Creed Hex features a female protagonist, and given Ubisoft's history of putting down female characters, this seems like a step in the right direction for the game and the company. It seems Ubisoft may have found a way forward for the franchise. But focusing on it and providing fans with more varied experiences outside 150-hour RPGs, as it has also been said future Assassin's Creed games would be shorter. By embracing the whole of the franchise, it seems there will be a little something for everyone and then some. Summed up, AC Hex sounds to be a female-led 16th century Germany set game, a setting no one saw coming, that isn't an RPG. And that sounds incredibly promising. Another Assassin's Creed project revealed was the final DLC to AC Valhalla. Ubisoft Forward's teaser for Assassin's Creed Valhalla's Last Chapter DLC, which is free, reveals Eva's plans and shows her speaking, presently, to her previous incarnation of Javi. Indeed, while there are plenty of new games like Assassin's Creed Mirage on the horizon, 2022's focus remains on Valhalla. 2022 will be its final year of content, however. Earlier this year, Ubisoft released the Forgotten Saga roguelike DLC game mode for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it intends to wrap things up with the last chapter's release later in 2022. Ubisoft Forward's teaser comes off incredibly strong, showing Eva seemingly talking face-to-face with Javi. Many know that Eva Varinsdottir is an ISU reincarnation of Javi/Odin. Her interactions with him in the main story have primarily been through a powerful, drug-like elixir, but it seems she is talking with him directly, even able to see him standing next to her. What this means remains to be seen, but it has huge story implications. After all, Basim was Basim until Loki's consciousness overtook him. This could suggest that more of Javi is beginning to take over Eva, despite the fact that she seemingly refused him in the Asgard storyline of AC Valhalla. The last chapter is shown around the 16:42-minute mark below. Furthermore, it seems Eva has more pressing matters at hand too. She finally seems content with her home and village, which is a bit strange but also understandable, and wants to set out for another adventure. That's fitting, at least. There seems to be a voiceover of Basim, who is watching this interaction through the Animus in Assassin's Creed Valhalla's post-campaign content. And he seems surprised by how she is interacting with Javi, his nemesis. Whatever this quest is, Ubisoft confirms that this will wrap up many lingering storylines, bring in key characters, bring back other characters, and have historical characters play some role in it all. While Eva's new quest remains to be seen, it will bring Valhalla to a close, and it could provide answers to the game's many mysteries. The big one, for many, is tied to the modern-day story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. As Layla, Sean, and Rebecca, they find Ivar's remains in Vinland, and Basim later on even wonders why she was buried there. She travels there at one point in the story, dealing with an apple of Eden at that, but why she returned and is buried there instead of home could be a result of this adventure. Hopefully, the last chapter wraps this up whenever it releases. During Ubisoft Forward, the company reveals 2 mobile games coming to the Assassin's Creed franchise. New titles like Assassin's Creed Mirage, codename Red, and codename Hex no doubt caught the most attention during the showcase. But Ubisoft's codename Jade and Netflix mobile games shouldn't be counted out either. Assassin's Creed is no stranger to mobile games, but at least for Jade, it seems Ubisoft is taking its formula from the mainline games and working them into something that'll work on mobile devices. Assassin's Creed Jade, for example, may be a mobile game, but it's also an open-world title in the veins of Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and the upcoming Project Red. It's not certain to what extent, of course, but one could imagine that it plays somewhat like Genshin Impact on mobile devices. AC Jade is set in China, 215 BCE, and it will allow players to customize their own assassin. Instead of playing a default character like Basim or choosing between gendered characters like Alexios and Cassandra, players will be able to make this character their own and even parkour on the Great Wall of China. The second title is even more mysterious than Jade. The Ubisoft showcase gave a brief update on the Assassin's Creed Netflix series, revealing Jeb Stewart's involvement here, and confirmed a mobile game for Netflix's platform was in the works. However, where this game is set or even its code name is not revealed during the showcase, so fans will just have to wait to learn more. Ubisoft has released a new live-action trailer marking the 15th anniversary of Assassin's Creed. Titled Leap into History, the new trailer takes fans through both the series past itself and the historical settings they've experienced while playing the Assassin's Creed games. As a lot of nostalgic moments from the games are replayed, lasting over 90 seconds, the Leap into History trailer manages to cover all the mainline games and their various historical settings, beginning with Altair from the first Assassin's Creed title. After Altair leaps off a building, presumably into a haystack, the trailer moves on to Assassin's Creed's most recent setting, giving fans a look at the female Ivar from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There then appears to be a focus on the more recent games, as the following clips give viewers a look at some combat inspired by both Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins. There doesn't seem to be a chronological order to how the games appear in the new trailer, with it then shifting to the perspective of a live-action Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed for Black Flag. There's a lot of action in the Leap into History trailer, showing various assassins taking on their most famous foes. Of course, Assassin's Creed's Ezio Auditore gets a nod in the trailer later on, with a reference to his iconic mission during the Venetian Carnival in Assassin's Creed 2. All the settings in the Assassin's Creed mainline titles are on display in the Leap into History trailer, with each of the characters featured jumping off a building together at its end. There's then a new logo design for Assassin's Creed's 15th anniversary to finish off the trailer. Some fans may have been watching Leap into History, hoping for a nod to some other settings that could perhaps be a part of Assassin's Creed's future. Considering there are a few new Assassin's Creed titles reportedly in the works, including the recently confirmed Assassin's Creed Mirage, it wouldn't have been completely out of the question for Ubisoft to include a reference to one of those games. Assassin's Creed appears to be changing its meta and modern-day stories in favor of the narratives revolving around the game's historical settings. Since the very first Assassin's Creed title, the historical stories of characters like Altair, Ezio, and Ivar have always been met with a modern-day companion. Up until Assassin's Creed 3, the story of Desmond Miles continued alongside his ancestors as they fought against the Templars. More recently, as the series has embraced more RPG elements, with Layla Hassan acting as the focal point of the modern narrative. However, it seems that Assassin's Creed may be changing the way it approaches the modern day and meta storylines. First, it was reported along with a slew of other information on Assassin's Creed Mirage that the new game would not have any playable present-day segments. This led to some wondering where the series would go with its story centered around the Animus and Abstergo. Now, Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Coty is sharing some information on what's next for the series' focus on the modern day. According to Coty, the modern-day storylines will be moving to the hub of Assassin's Creed Infinity. As Assassin's Creed Infinity acts as a platform/launcher hub for the upcoming titles in the franchise, this means that fans may be saying goodbye to the playable segments of the modern-day storylines. And characters like Desmond or Layla won't be appearing again. Coty even implied this may be the case for the future of Assassin's Creed, as he states people won't need to know who Desmond and Layla are. Further, Coty states that the player will take on the role of the protagonist in the modern-day story, as through Assassin's Creed Infinity's hub, they will have access to their own animus. It is your DNA Explorer on your desktop, Coty states. It seems that this is designed to make entering the franchise easier for new players, as they will just be able to hop into a historical story without sitting through a few minutes of exposition on how their character got there. Whatever happens with the modern story, it seems Ubisoft is banking on Assassin's Creed Infinity being the franchise's future. Whether that involves playable modern-day segments or not, the Assassin's Creed franchise will still have plenty of interesting historical locations to go to. AC Red and AC Hex are also part of this Infinity project, though how that exactly works remains to be seen. Speaking of Assassin's Creed, many fans have speculated that an Assassin's Creed remake may be in production, and Ubisoft has now addressed the rumors. Though Ubisoft conjured one of the most influential assassins in a lair, it seems that they do not feel the need to return to the title that introduced him, and the Assassin's Creed itself, to players. While many fans may be frustrated to hear that a new version of Assassin's Creed is not in the works, it can't be said that Ubisoft isn't striving to provide players with exciting future content. Speaking of Ubisoft, Chinese tech giant Tencent is raising its stake in Ubisoft, the makers behind Assassin's Creed franchise, as it grows its industry footprint. Tencent is acquiring a bigger stake in one of the larger known entities in the gaming arena, Ubisoft. The Chinese conglomerate has been making an aggressive play in growing its footprint in the gaming industry in recent times. In addition to acquiring a bigger stake in Ubisoft, Tencent has been investing in everything ranging from gaming companies like Tequila Works and From Software to patenting 2D video conversion systems. Ubisoft has often come under the spotlight over acquisition prospects throughout the years. Prior to 2018, Ubisoft faced a hostile takeover from Vivendi. Then back in May, the Guillemot family reportedly prevented another takeover attempt of Ubisoft. Meanwhile, Tencent has also had its eyes on the company for a while and was already expected to grow its stake within the company with the idea of becoming the largest shareholder of Ubisoft. The company is investing €300 million in Guillemot Brothers, which is a 49.9% stake in the company run by Ubisoft's co-founders and has the biggest shareholding in Ubisoft. Accordingly, Guillemot Bros' stake in the company could reach 29.9%, whereas the combined shareholding with Tencent's stake would mean that the two entities claim the bulk of the holding within Ubisoft. However, the new investment doesn't grant Tencent a board seat in either Guillemot Brothers or the Assassin's Creed maker. Further, Tencent is now allowed to more than double its stake in Ubisoft to 9.99%, though the company can't sell its stock for 5 years. Following the investment, the Chinese conglomerate is also set to bring several Ubisoft AAA titles to mobile along with some of the publisher's PC games to China. While specific details are yet to be known, the announcement falls in line with the company's mobile gaming ambitions, especially considering Tencent and Logitech's partnership for a handheld gaming console. There are also reports that Tencent is considering making AAA games for current game consoles and PC. Meanwhile, the French company also updated fans on its plans to discontinue online services for some of its older games, extending the deadline for several of these titles by a month. Regardless, now with Tencent claiming a bigger stake in Ubisoft, it will be interesting to see what the direction of the company will look like in times to come. Ubisoft is really banking big on Assassin's Creed as the franchise has sold over 200 million copies, and I can't wait to see gameplay of these announced code-named projects. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.